Slave DiBiase.
What's going on with y'all, man? What's going on with everybody? Thank y'all. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Salute to everybody that might pull up, whether religiously or in passing, as they digest this content. It's your boy Slave DiBiase, aka Victor Von Slay, aka got so many shades they thought I had a lazy eye. Yeah, man. We here. It's another Monday, man. It's another good session. I know I'm like 4 or 5 minutes behind 4:20 my time. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we're definitely here to do it. How y'all feeling out there? How you living, man? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And also like, comment, and subscribe to any of the content that we might react to today. Starting things off, we're going to start off with strain of the day. The strain of the day today is an indica. It's called Pink Panties, and it's a vape, and I've got it from the Flying Horse brand. If you come across one of these, that's definitely something you should get in tune with. Seriously. Yeah, but y'all see the caption though, right? Y'all see the caption, right? Lanterns episode 1. Now, before we get into it, I am not a fan of James Gunn. Let me let y'all understand. Excuse me, James Gunn. I am not a fan of James Gunn. I don't like nothing that he's done with the DC universe, but the first episode of this show was fantastic to me. It had me intrigued and it made me want to see what else that this show actually has to offer. It also kind of feels, I haven't done my research yet, but it also kind of feels like maybe James Gunn didn't even have his hands on this. If he didn't have his hands on this, we might be okay, y'all. Because Superman, yeah. What was that? Supergirl, trash. Yeah, we don't want none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, but this episode, the first episode starring Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre as Hal Jordan and John Stewart, I am definitely into it. It premiered last night on HBO Max. We're going to get a little bit of breakdown of it. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that might have also watched the first episode of Lanterns, you're perfectly welcome to chime in the comments on things that you saw. But yeah, let's get into it. Today's content will be by heavy spoilers. We're going to react to the heavy spoilers, y'all. Let me see. Here we go. Bam. All right. Let me get that right there. Yeah, heavy spoilers got the whole joint broken down. We're about to get into it right now. Don't forget to give him a like, comment, and subscribe as well, because I don't steal. So yeah. Let's see what he has to say about it, and I'm going to give y'all my little tidbits on what I saw in the episode as well.
Lanterns is now here as the next step in the DCU. HBO's Lanterns follows veteran Green Lantern Hal Jordan and his trainee John Stewart as they're drawn into an intergalactic mystery that all starts on Earth, which I imagine saved a lot on the budget. But this first episode is loaded with Easter eggs and references to the comics, and throughout this video, we'll be breaking it all down. I also want to talk about how this episode sets us up for the rest of the season.
Hold on. Let's go back and take a look at the Lanterns ring.
Mystery that all starts on Earth, which I imagine saved a lot on the budget. Brightest day and blackest night, let no spoiler escape my sight. We're off to a bad start there already, I'll admit, but Lanterns is now here as the next step in the DCU. HBO's Lanterns follows veteran Green Lantern Hal Jordan and his trainee John Stewart as they're drawn into an intergalactic mystery that all starts on Earth, which I imagine saved a lot on the budget. But this first episode is loaded with Easter eggs and references to the comics, and throughout this video, we'll be breaking it all down. I also want to talk about how...
All right, y'all take a look at the ring, right? The ring kind of has like a vertigo kind of symbol in it. If y'all know anything about DC Comics, the ring has like a little vertigo symbol in the middle of it. I'm not sure if that's going to come back, you know what I'm saying, to be something important a little bit later on. But I'm definitely interested to see where they go. I do like the way that the ring looks, though. It's like a dark greenish gold type situation going on. Yo, Jaguar Actual, what's going on, my brother? What's going on? We talking about Lanterns, the first episode. Did you see it? Yeah, but I'm liking the way that the ring looks. Shout out to HBO Max and the James Gunn for getting that understood.
How this episode sets us up for the rest of the season and kind of go into some of my theory times about what could be going on. As always, though, thank you for clicking this. Be sure to hit the thumbs up. And with that out the way, let's get into Lanterns.
Why are you here? Well, vengeance.
Now we start this episode.
That was a great scene. So my man Jaguar Actual says he has seen it. And the boy Don Pulio said, just seen this on my movie site, Fire Beginning. Yes, it is. Salute to the boy Don Pulio, man. He has his own 420 content and all of that. Make sure y'all tap in with him, y'all. Yo, Pulio, I'm monetized, big dog. We put in that work. I'm fully monetized, man. Salute, salute. But let's get into the first scene, man. And I just want everybody to, let me get closer here. I just want everybody to realize you're not that bad of a parent. If you think you're a bad parent, you're not that bad of a parent. Let's just take the time to look at this.
Start off with a little blast from the past as we meet a young John Stewart in 1996. Along with his two brothers, they're watching a 60-minute segment where Hal Jordan is revealing his identity as Green Lantern. However, while John is glued to the screen, his brothers start freaking out that their dad is coming home. And
now, mind you, you got Lil Murder here from P-Valley. He's John Stewart's father. Also, too, something that y'all need to realize. Hal Jordan got his Green Lantern ring in 1996. That's when he got it, which is when this first scene takes place. So, salute to my man that plays his Lil Murder. He went and found him some more work or whatever, and it's in the DC project. I'm sure we'll hear more from him as they do flashbacks, flipping and flopping, because they flashback from 1996 to 2016 to 2026. I'm thinking that we're going to see those 3 different time periods the entire time in the show.
yes, Father of the Year right there. But in this opening, we get a rundown of Hal's backstory, insight to John's as well. But yeah, we kind of learn about how Hal became the Green Lantern. He explains that he first revealed himself 10 years ago when he stopped a meteor from destroying a town called Victoria Falls. Now, the first thing I want to point
out. Okay, excuse me. He got his ring 10 years ago. So that means he didn't get his ring in 1996. He got his ring in 1986. So Hal Jordan is the only Green Lantern at this time on Earth. As far as the Guardians, the people from Oa, the big Guardians in the universe or whatever, Earth is like a third world country to them. It's backwoods, swamp water. Nobody really pays attention to it. So the fact that you have a human Green Lantern on Earth, that's actually a really, really big deal.
Out here is that Hal's Green Lantern costume here seems to be inspired by the suit he wore in the.
Okay, let's go back. He's talking about Hal's Green Lantern costume. I don't like the costume. I much rather prefer even though it's a horrible movie, when Ryan Reynolds played as Hal Jordan and he had the ring and it made the whole suit energize over his body and all of that kind of stuff, I prefer that. What is this? Boy, you look like you work at Party City like shit, boy. I hate that goddamn costume. Who thought of this? This is why I be saying James Gunn needs to be brought in front of the living tribunal and tried for all of his crimes across humanity for what he is doing to folks' childhood. You're ruining it. If you don't know what you're doing, you should stop.
Drawing a town called Victoria Falls. Now, the first thing I want to point out here is that Hal's Green Lantern.
Look at that, man. Just look at that. We don't like it. I like it when you put the ring on and then the suit comes on, because that's another way of a Green Lantern creating their own construct. You can make your suit look whichever way that you can come up with in your imagination. Yet we're here with this $50 rubber, bounce your ass up out of here with a suit on.
And costume here seems to be inspired by the suit he wore in the alternate universe Earth 1 storyline. There, Hal is an astronaut in the near future, and he bases it off his spacesuit, which I like here for the show as well, as a human being a Green Lantern is sort of an extreme version of an astronaut. The story about him revealing himself after stopping a meteor also seems to be a reference to Hal Jordan's first appearance in 1956's Showcase issue 22. There, he first reveals himself to the public by stopping a missile from hitting his home in Coast City. During this, the citizens on the ground are seen watching in awe as a mysterious and powerful hero emerges, and it's from this point he becomes a beacon for the people. Hal then tells the world about his history of being an Air Force veteran and also a former test pilot. He's based.
I like that they did kind of keep with the regular origin of Green Lantern. They're keeping it that he's a test pilot and all that good stuff that he, you know what I'm saying? In order to fly these jets, man, you know, I was in the military. In order to fly these jets, you have to be a fearless individual because one wrong move and you're out of the air. You get into a firefight with somebody in the air, you get clipped out of the air. You're done, son. You're fucking done. So you have to be a very, very fearless individual to even pilot something like this.
Basically following in his father's footsteps, who we learned died during a test flight when Hal was young. Death kind of follows Hal throughout the episode, and him talking about death here somewhat foreshadows the reveal at the end. Hal then looks directly at the camera, and we see John still glued to the screen, making it seem like Hal is talking to him directly. He then says he wants people to know that he's just a regular person, and the entire episode is basically a grounded Green Lantern just going about their day. We'll see how John's feelings towards Hal drastically shift as he grows older in just a minute, but I love how they set up this dynamic between John and Hal early on. This shows that at one point, John idolized the character. We then get a quick explanation.
As far as John idolizing Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, the age-old saying goes, never meet your heroes. 9 times out of 10, they are weird and bitch-ass niggas. I hate that shit. It reminds me when I used to do media in the battle rap world. I met a lot of those battle rappers, and guess what? They're regular people, like what Hal said in the episode, but they're weirdos. I mean, real weirdos. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, never meet your heroes, man. Never meet them, because more than likely you're going to be highly disappointed. Imagine meeting Beyonce and her breath stink. That's all I'm saying.
Of what the Green Lanterns are, and Hal says they're basically beat cops who have their own chunk of the galaxy. He's also the first Green Lantern from Earth, and it kind of creates a rivalry between John and Hal later. Hal also mentions that the only question he was asked for the job is if he was afraid, to which he said no. He then explains that after losing a parent so young, there isn't really anything left to be afraid of.
I will admit, I can admit that after losing a parent so young, that would take the fear out of you, because you're forced to grow up fast as hell. You know, life can't get any worse than being a young child and losing your mother and your father, and you can't get them back. Life can't be any more fearful than that, you know?
Juxtaposing this idea of fear when losing your parent, we then see the fear that the Stewart kids feel around their father, who was actually still alive. The dad pulls up on the driveway, but notice how John doesn't shut off the TV until the very last possible second. This shows how John is already fearless at such a young age and foreshadows his future as one of the most powerful Green Lanterns.
Nah, that don't prove nothing. In that scene right there, right? They're watching TV. They are watching TV, right? And I'm guessing the house rule is y'all don't cut the TV on unless I'm at the house. I don't know if their father is a Marine, it's some weird shit, whatever. But hey, if that's a rule in the house, that's what you follow. So they're watching the news interview with Hal Jordan talking to some reporter, and he's telling them that aliens exist. He's a space cop. All of this is real. We have life among us on other planets. They're not supposed to be watching TV. They hear their father rolling up to the house. They hear him close the door. They like, yo, John, if you don't cut the TV off, bro, you gonna get us cooked. John got the TV on all up until he hear his daddy stick the key in the door. Talking about John is fearless. No, John just bad as shit. Point blank, simple, period. And man, I'd have snitched so hard. He cut the TV on. I just walked in his room, Dad. Sorry.
However, before that, he's got to take some shit and some shots from his dad as he comes into the room and immediately knows that John was...
I ain't gonna lie, Lil Murder was very, very believable as a first sergeant, you know what I'm saying, commanding officer, non-commissioned officer in the Marines. He definitely was very believable.
Watching the segment on Hal, he asks him if he's going to tell him his real name, and John says, Hal or something, which we know he's lying because the kid was literally about to jump inside the TV. There's no way he forgot his last name, but for some reason he doesn't want to tell his dad, which we will theorize about why that is in just a bit. But we also see that...
I didn't think about that. He did ask him, are you going to tell me his real name? And he was like, Hal something. I don't really remember his last name. Yeah, like heavy spoilers right here said, bro, your nose was on the damn screen on the television. You telling me you don't know that man's last name? Stop playing. You remember Hal, but don't remember Jordan? Come on, bro.
John's dad's in the Marines. Now, this is a pretty big change up from the comics, where a lot of the time, John's dad isn't really mentioned much, and he's raised by his mother. This was Shirley Stewart, who, along with his sister Ellie, died when they were young. We do see John's dad.
It's a different universe. Maybe his mother's gone. Maybe they're divorced, and old First Sergeant there said, give me my boy so I can raise him right. Any way they want to write that whole situation, they can.
Had featured in a few issues, though, and it seems like he wasn't a great guy, so it seems like they're basing it off that. But that comes from stuff like the recent Green Lantern Corps issue 15, where John's possessed by the fear entity known as Parallax. During this, he sees himself as a kid about to take a beating from his dad. However, DC Comics has also rebooted its comic book universe a few times, and there is a vision of John's origin where his father's in his life, though it never specifies that he's in the military. There, though, he is a civil rights activist who's really harsh on John.
Well, I like that they wrote that his father was in the military originally. I like how they wrote that. We don't have enough representation of black dads actually being in the home on TV anymore like that. So I like that he's there teaching and molding them boys. Even if he, you know what I'm saying, he's got to go a little hardcore on them. So be it, because the world ain't soft. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that.
John's dad in the comics is also named Henry, and while we don't get a first initial on his military uniform, the cast lists him as John Stewart Sr., which is super interesting as well, and I'll talk about why that is in just a moment. We also don't see any sign of John's mum, but we do see in a moment that his dad wears a wedding ring. I'm also pretty sure there's a picture of her sitting on top of the TV. But this makes me think that they're pulling from this older origin of John, where his dad mainly raises him as his mum's dying of cancer. I do feel as well that that will be something that we see with the young John, and it was potentially foreshadowed to us with Hal's line about how every kid's worst fear is losing a parent. John's dad then orders him to go outside, where he sets an apple on his head before pulling out his gun.
What the hell? What kind of, I'm not, hold on, bro. I'm not for soft parenting at all. Fuck that shit and fuck this soft ass, disrespectful ass, rule breaking generation. But that's a hell of a punishment. You got to go outside and put an apple on the top of your head. And I got to hope you don't hit me. Oh, man. And I'm not allowed to be scared neither. Nigga, please.
And whoa, the kid was just watching some TV.
Fact.
You can also see a bunch of bullet holes behind it.
A bunch of bullet holes. So now you see a bunch of bullet holes, like this punishment has happened before. So my thing is these bullet holes go up in a way, you know what I'm saying? Up and down. So there's a whole crazy chance that you could have missed. He could be over there scaring them boys saying, y'all had another brother, but I missed one day. Bet you that'll make your ass fall in line.
Showing that this has happened many, many, many times before. A really deep detail here as well is that the bullet holes go up the wall in a vertical line, and the last one stops right at John's height. It reminds me a lot of when your parents used to mark your height on the door frame, and it shows his dad has probably been doing this for a couple of years. It's clearly playing off the story of William Tello, who was...
Man, I'm scared for them boys. Is this abuse? Is this abuse? Yeah, new society, new generation. Is that abuse? That is crazy, man. I got to not be scared while you have a fully semi-automatic pistol pointed at my head, and you fire it off. And you're telling me, with the sound of the pistol going off, none of the neighbors think to call the cops. You know, everybody always want to get on the phone and call the cops on some goddamn body instead of minding their business. Nobody called the cops on this man?
Known for shooting an apple off his son's head. He also assassinated the tyrannical Austrian Duke Albrecht Gessler. Due to the setup here and what we get at the end, I did even wonder if John Stewart Sr. had something to do with Hal's death, especially due to the way it looks like Hal died. John's dad then asks John if he's afraid, and he says, "No, sir," as his dad shoots the apple from his head.
Hold on. He's saying that John Stewart could be the one who, spoiler alert, we spoil the country around here, Jack. You better go get HBO Max and watch it, because we spoil the country around here. Goddamn on. He's saying that his father might be responsible for taking out Hal Jordan Green Lantern. I mean, it's a bit of a reach for me. That would be kind of like, why would that man want to do anything to Hal Jordan Green Lantern? You don't even know him. And I doubt that John has the greatest relationship with his father. He might respect him, you know, and he does call him during the episode. And his father does know that he's being trained to be a new Green Lantern under your boy Hal Jordan, which is just crazy where everybody's just okay with knowing that there's aliens out there. So I'm wondering why everybody looks and acts so surprised when Superman shows up. But he said, sir, some kids just get a beating. This dude is discharging a firearm in the presence of a minor. Yo, Jack, I never asked you this, bro. Are you police? Are you law enforcement? Salute if you are. You know what I'm saying? Hope you one of the good ones. Ironically, this is one of the charges Tyler Robinson is charged with very frequently. Sheesh. And yes, it's abuse.
Doesn't even flinch, and he just calmly walks back up to his dad, who then tussles his hair. He then says, let's get a burger. Like this was some proud family moment between.
So what if he would have cried and been scared? What would you have did then? That's abuse, hell.
Father and son. Now, I feel like we have to break this down a bit before we move on, because what a way to introduce us to John. Like I said, in the comics, John's dad's barely mentioned, but I feel like this switch in the show is meant to create another layer to Hal and John's relationship. Hal is sort of playing a different type of father figure to John than the brutal one he had growing up. But
Nah. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Hal is a hater. Hal is a hater. He knows young boy is there to replace him, and he don't like it. He does not want Mufasa replacing him at all. Look at the way he looking at him. He all but saying, oh, cat-eyed bitch, you think you gonna take my motherfucking job? Ain't no fucking way. He says to him in this scene, which is a little bit later after that moment that you see John Stewart and his father, he says to him in this scene, he lets him know, this is my job. I'm the only person that has been doing it. I've been doing it for a long time, and ain't nobody taking my spot. He keep calling him Junior. You calling a grown man over 200 pounds Junior. Come on, bro.
Both are pretty bad. Also, is it just me, or does John Sr. seem to know a little too much about the Green Lanterns? The 60-minute segment said it had been 10 years since Hal first revealed himself as a Green Lantern, and it's very clear that the Stewart house has had conversations about the Emerald Hero before. The kids seem terrified of being caught even watching him on TV, except for little John, though, who is cold as ice. The biggest thing, however, is
that little nigga just bad. He wouldn't have got me in trouble like that. I'd have been snitching. You know our daddy crazy, bro. Turn that goddamn TV off. The moment he wrote, well, they had the blinds open, so he saw the TV on it. Kids are stupid, bro.
Is how John's father asks if he's afraid before shooting the apple off his son's head. We know that that's the only requirement to be a lantern because of the lore around the character and the fact they tell you it during that 60-minute segment. However, John Sr. didn't catch that program. So how would he know about this, and why would he be clearly training John from an early age to not show fear? Well, I'll tell you my theory, yeah? Now, I know that the show literally just started, but John Sr. really has my wheels turning for some theory time. Again, changing his name to John Sr. instead of Henry feels like a very deliberate choice. This makes me think that perhaps John was once a potential recruit for the Lanterns himself, but something prevented him from securing his ring, which I would guess might be due to the loss of his wife. This could have created a fear in him of losing the rest of his children, and this would have prevented him from becoming a Lantern. So now he's training John from a very young age to never have fear, so that one day he may be able to take his place in the Corps. The place that should have been his. Now, I know that sounds out there, but it would explain how John Sr. has this inside knowledge of the Lanterns and him seemingly having some kind of beef with Hal.
Okay. Do we like that theory? Do we like that theory that maybe John Sr. back in the day was supposed to be the Green Lantern or supposed to be the trainee? He might have even been the one to almost get trained by Hal back in the day, but it never happened. Who knows? That is a cool theory, all except for Hal kind of debunks it later in the episode when he explains to John how the Guardians of the Universe, you know what I'm saying, the people who make the Green Lantern rings, they put together the Green Lantern Corps. Yeah, the Guardians, like they're kind of not worried about Earth. Earth is like a third world country to them. It's like an armpit in the universe. Ain't nobody looking over at Earth, dirty, dusty ass planet. Hold on. Jaguar Actual says, this shows that the Guardians are not perfect. Guardian initiates go to the academy and are trained by Kilowog. Facts. The only time we saw a Lantern train another Lantern on the job was Sinestro, and we know how that went. Like where you going with that? I like you kind of cooking right there, Jaguar. You kind of cooking right there. I still don't know. It would be a plot twist if his father was supposed to be a Green Lantern, which is why he would ask him a question like that. It was the same question that the Ring asked Hal Jordan, which you find out later in the episode. Just ask one question. Are you afraid? His father asked him the same thing before he discharged that semi-automatic weapon in the presence of a minor.
As weird as it sounds as well, I think John Sr. could actually be playing a version of John Stewart from his early appearance in the 80s. There, John was straight up chosen off the streets by the Guardians to be a replacement for Guy Gardner in Green Lantern issue 87. In the issue, Hal takes John on a mission as part of his training, but the different ways of going about the job make things a bit tense. John uses the ring to embarrass a senator who preaches about white supremacy, but later saves the day by uncovering the senator's plans to fake an assassination attempt and blame it on the black community. The issue then ends with Hal admitting he was wrong about John, and
wow, racist much? Jesus Christ.
The tagline saying, he will return at some point. However, after that, John hung around as a backup for Hal and Guy Gardner, and he popped up in a few issues of Justice League during the Infinite Crisis event. However, it wasn't until 1984's Green Lantern issue 182 that John Stewart returned as an official member of the Corps. This is when he was officially given the job by the Guardians after Hal quit the Corps the issue before. So what I'm getting at is that John Stewart Sr. may have been the original Green Lantern who was approached by the Guardians, and he trained with Hal in his first appearance.
Okay. I like that theory. He did put it together right way. Somebody help me out in the comments that is real big on Green Lantern, because I'm a DC dude, right? I like DC. Batman is the one and only, but I'm not sure about the whole situation. How many Green Lanterns are allowed in a sector? Can anybody answer that question for me?
John Stewart Jr., who we follow in the show, is John Stewart when he officially gets offered the job in Green Lantern 182. Having John's dad be a Green Lantern that never was, if that is indeed the case, would add a lot of depth to John's growing.
I mean, he got the face for it. He could have been, if they didn't pick old cat-eye bitch Aaron Pierre, they definitely could have made him Green Lantern. He looks like him from the comics. As a matter of fact, he kind of looks like, he kind of favors when you switch to the John Stewart Green Lantern skin on Injustice 2. He kind of looks like that a little bit. A little splash of Mahershala Ali in there.
And rocky relationship with Hal, along with his own motives for wanting to become a Lantern. Now, this is, again, a bit of a theory time, but we'll get into the rest of the video after a quick word from our sponsors. Hey, guys. So, unfortunately, bad news has struck the...
I don't get paid for that. Hold on. Jaguar Actual says, it depends on how big, how dangerous, and how important the sector is. Okay, makes sense, because I know we have... Kyle Rayner, we have Guy Gardner, Mr. Bowl Cut from 2025 Superman movie. Yeah. We have Hal Jordan, and then we have John Stewart. So that's 4 Green Lanterns that I can think of off the top of my head in one sector.
This would be 9 years before we met Guy Gardner in Superman, which takes place in 2025. John's workout is then cut short. Now fully grown badass. Let's make this your strong. Grab Marsmen down at the link below and get yourself feeling a lot better and much more driven. Thank you. Getting back to the show, we then fade away from a young John to a now fully grown badass John in 2016. If you're keeping up to date with the DCU timeline as well, this would be 9 years before we met Guy Gardner in Superman.
Yeah, that's Guy Gardner right there. I do like his character. I like his character as Guy Gardner or whatever. I hate the haircut. I hated it in the comics, but he definitely does play a good Guy Gardner.
Which takes place in 2025. John's workout is then cut short when we get a call and we see him getting picked up by Hal. He screeches around the corner.
Hold on, Jaguar Actual says, Google says normally 2 Green Lanterns are assigned to each of the 3,600 space sectors in the universe, making a standard baseline of 7,200 core members. However, quiet or empty sectors may have only one. In high conflict areas like Earth Sector 2814, often have multiple assigned or reserved members. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that, Jaguar Actual. I appreciate that, my brother. I just like to have the facts, you know what I'm saying, for personal knowledge and anybody that might want to get into the universe or whatever, you know.
While blasting Boogie Shoes by Casey and the Sunshine Band, and though he's late and hungover, and John should be pissed, he just is completely nonchalant and clearly doesn't care. It just shows that he's got a handle on his emotions, and a detail I love here is that John doesn't even put on a seatbelt, which again is playing with the idea that the character has no fear. As Hal then skids out.
First of all, that car, what is this car? Is that an old school Cutlass or something like that? That shit fire, and it's fast as hell too. And it's like a low down green, you know what I'm saying? A little splash of green in there.
He continues trying to provoke him, saying how he disappeared for 2 weeks and then showed up with a hangover, which should make John mad, but John refuses to let anything faze him. I also love how even in just his first couple of minutes of seeing John and Hal together, you immediately can tell what kind of relationship this is.
Look, when Hal got in the car, right? Well, not when Hal got in the car, when Hal pulled up and John Stewart got in the car, he was like, I was late. He was like, yeah, and you're not mad that I'm late? I'm like, why are you picking with this man? You literally, if you were in the military, bro, or any sort of situation that is built in military structure, they tell you all day long, check down, not up. If your superior is late picking you up somewhere, he got it covered. Hell, I wish you would get in my car, troop, talking about oh, you late. So keep that same energy. Remember, I'm in charge of you, right? Yeah. You check down, not up. So I do like how John, like he said, did have control over his emotions. He was just on some like, okay, you're late. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? That's on you. You're the one that's teaching me. You know what I'm saying? So if they have some sort of after action review where I have to review how my teacher was, I might have a few things to say, but I'm not in a position to do that right now. And I don't have time to get mad because what I'm being trained for is very, very important. So I do. Aaron Pierre was doing his thing the whole episode, y'all, with the acting.
And not in a good way. It's clear that Hal is kind of a piece of shit, but you can see how he's subtly testing John constantly. He wants to see if he'll lose his cool, but John is fully aware of this and just wants to get his training done as soon as possible. Also, love this kind of lethal weapon role reversal here, where Hal, who's the older cop, is the impulsive renegade, whereas the younger cop seems more mature and more of an adult. Hal also mentions that the reason...
I just got through watching Lethal Weapon, the first one, man. Like, you almost forget how much of a classic that shit is, bro. Mel Gibson and Danny Glover did they fucking thing, bro. You almost forget how good of a movie that is. Me and wifey was watching it the other day. I think we watched that one and Lethal Weapon 2 right after it. But Lethal Weapon 1 is that shit. But that buddy cop type situation, it was one of the first times you had seen it, and they were great bouncing off of each other. Pause. And Hal and John, even though it's a little bit more on the serious tip, they also have good chemistry together as far as one being level-headed and the other one being reckless. It's the right amount to getting some work done.
Adult. Hal also mentions that the reason he disappeared is because he was off on the planet Farron 4. He calls it a shithole and says he got caught up celebrating after stopping a civil war on the planet. Now, this is a reference to 1960s Green Lantern 156 by Mike Barr and Gil Kane. There, Hal follows a distress signal to Faros 4 and finds it's been taken over by a race of shape-shifting insects called the Faroids. However, it turns out that one of the Faroids called Green Lantern to help them in their war against another alien race called the Dalgova. Hal eventually brings peace between the two factions by bringing delegates together from each side to fight each other in single combat. It's at this point they then discover that they don't even remember why they're fighting, and Hal makes them sit down and figure out their problems. It's a super niche reference, bringing this up, as it's the only issue featuring that planet, but yeah, I appreciated they touched upon it. However, instead of impressing John, this story just kind of pisses him off. He says that they've been doing this for 2 months now, and he still hasn't even won the ring. To which Hal says, hold on a second, kid. The ring will choose when he's ready, but John claps back, saying the Guardians already chose him. Hal again tries to bring John back down to earth, saying despite the big blue guys thinking he's hot shit, he's nothing but a substitute teacher.
He was hating on him the whole episode because he knew what Young Boy was there for. As a matter of fact, in this universe, you find out later that Green Lanterns don't have trainees. It's just if you're the Green Lantern of a certain sector, that's it. That's all. There is nobody you're training, or you don't train nobody. But the ring ended up telling telling on Hal.
Now, I've got to be honest as well, that would have annoyed me. Hal then decides to give John the chance, tosses the ring, and tells him to meet him at a taco stand up the road. He then jumps out the car as it goes off the cliff in a kind of sink or swim style of training.
That was the most messed up thing. He jumps out the car. He tells my man, yo, since you think you so fire and all that, he put the ring on the dashboard. He told him, he said, yo, grab the ring, do what you can do. There's a taco stand about 3 miles up the way. I'll meet you there, or maybe not. Jumps out the car, leaves young boy in the car. He's only been training for 2 months. Remember, you heard him say that, right? Which means he doesn't even know how to fly at this point. He can't even take the ring on and just get up out of here right quick. He can't do that because he don't know how to. Hal ain't been letting him wear the ring, and he honestly hasn't been teaching him anything either. This might be one of the first times he start teaching him something. So luckily, when the car goes off the cliff, with gravity and all that, the ring comes off the dashboard. He grabs it, he puts it on, and he thinks of a construct to protect himself. At least hopefully.
This forces John to learn on his feet and use the ring to survive the crash. Now, if we look at the parallels of this and his father, it's kind of playing off how John is always being trained in situations that are literal life and death. We then cut to John walking down the desert road, which is when he calls his dad. There he vents to him about how much of a jerk Hal is and that he tried to kill him. But John Sr. assures him that Hal is just trying to provoke him and that he needs to just breathe in, button down, and be cool.
Okay, so you see how he was just on the phone talking to John Sr., right? And his dad is like, he's not starstruck about any of the whole space cop shit or nothing. He's just like, I know how to deal with these superiors. He's just testing you, man. You know what I'm saying? Suck it up and drive on. Keep your head down, do what he says, and just be the best you. None of this is amazing him. He's too, I don't know. Bro might be onto something with him possibly being a potential Green Lantern. Jaguar Actual says, I'm glad they didn't gloss over the racial element when his father told him they're allowed to have tantrums. We don't. He did say that. He was like, yo, man, your man's being an asshole to me. He was like, and you want to know something, Jag? I didn't even catch that he said that in that manner. I thought it was on some, Hal is a whole decorated Green Lantern, you know what I'm saying? And you're what he wants to be. He can have a tantrum. You can't. Nah, you just took it. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. They're allowed to have tantrums. We don't. Breathe in, button down, and bottle up. You're right about that.
See that not only is John Sr. still around, but he's actively involved in John's life and training. John Sr. also mentions how Hal and the other Lanterns are allowed to have tantrums, but they aren't. Now, this could potentially be hinting at John Sr. knowing this from experience, along with how he knows Hal's antics are just his way of testing John.
Okay, maybe two things can be true. Maybe two things can be true on that one. What I said and what you said.
John and his father not having the privilege to have tantrums as well also hints at the racial inequality that I think this show will likely be playing upon. There's clear metaphors for immigration later on, and Damon Lindelof was behind Watchmen, which tackled a lot of ideas around race. I do also wonder if they're going to bring race into it more down the line, and how John may be perceived by the public. Now, after getting a little pep talk from Pops, John continues his way down the...
Honestly, I want to see them not totally drown us in race or racism, but I do want to see how the public will react to a black man with that much power. It's a thought.
The road, and the ring starts to beep, which is when it materializes Hal, who you can see looks a bit younger. He's not got the grey streaks in his hair, and he panics and asks John if he's dead. This is also foreshadowing the ending, and I think that John will likely get in touch with this consciousness at some point down the line. Initially, John just brushes it off, thinking it's another one of his silly games, but we can see that Hal is genuinely confused. He actually seems like a nice version of the character too, and apologizes if he's done something to annoy him. We then learn that this new Hal is a backup of his consciousness, combined with the sentience of the ring. We also discover that Lanterns are required to upload weekly. However, Hal has not been following protocol and hasn't uploaded to it in 10 years. Hal's consciousness is also very surprised that John doesn't know all of this already, saying that he should have taught him these things by now, along with how to fly. So it's clear that Hal wasn't always an arsehole, but something happened over the last 10 years that has turned him away from his responsibilities.
He hasn't been teaching that boy. I told y'all. When he picked up that he was going to be replaced somehow, some way, he didn't like it. That's why he hasn't been teaching him. And also, too, it's because John Stewart's actually good.
We're also getting stuff in 10-year gaps as well. The end of the episode's 2026, and I do think that we're going to go back in time to 2006 and see what happened with Hal when the last time he uploaded his consciousness. In the comics as well, this projection of Hal's consciousness is called an energy twin, but it actually works a bit differently. In the books, a Green Lantern can create an energy twin of themselves that can travel at far greater speeds than that of the ring wielder's physical form. However, while the energy twin is active, the ring wielder remains motionless as their life force is needed to guide them. That definitely isn't the case here, though, as Hal is just up the road smashing some tacos. With John unable to fly, Hal's backup gives him the cryptic message.
There's hail in Rushville, Nebraska.
He says that the real Hal will know what it means before he disappears, and Rushville becomes a prominent place in both 20...
Hell nah. But at the same time, how you mad and the Guardians picked them? Were you not doing your job, fuck nigga? That's all I'm asking.
16 and also 2026. We then see as John finally makes it to the taco stand where Hal is living it up as a celebrity superhero. People are taking pictures, hitting the thumbs up and subscribing, and Hal is signing autographs. However, his attitude quickly changes when John gives him the message and he tells John to pay the bill before flying off. Also,
I ain't gonna lie. That part when he took off and flew, that shit was fire. Hold on.
A hero. People are taking pictures, hitting the thumbs up and subscribing, and Hal is signing autographs. However, his attitude quickly changes when John gives him the message and he tells John to pay the bill before flying off. Also, a funny moment here comes when John says he conjured bubble wrap to survive. Now, while this seems a bit silly, I feel like this plays into how John's constructs are typically more practical than most of the other lanterns. Also, this most likely comes from his inexperience with the ring, as he's never made something purely from his imagination. So,
okay, I mean, you could say that, but y'all tell me in the comments, man, what would you have thought of to protect yourself with the car in the midair about to crash into the side of a canyon and all of that? What would you have thought of right quick to protect yourself so that you wouldn't die with the constructs with the ring? What would you have thought of? I've been trying to think about that shit since I saw that episode, since I've seen that scene, and I can't come up with nothing. Bubble wrap was actually kind of cool. And this is something that you're thinking of on the fly. You could say maybe a big giant pillow. You know what I'm saying? You might have, would it have been a pillow? Or maybe you would have just conjured yourself to fly out of there. I don't know. But tell me what you would have came up with off the fly to just jump out, you know what I'm saying, and protect yourself from all that damage and that fall.
his first thought is something totally normal. Now, I couldn't find a specific example of a Green Lantern creating bubble wrap in the comics, but I did find this hilarious comment on Reddit. People are asking, what would you construct? And yeah, this guy says bubble wrap, and I think Damon Lindelof, we have found your burner account. I do like that they're just two regular guys with regular clothes. However, I'm also starting to think their wardrobe could use an upgrade. Now, if you want to do that to yours, then why not check out our merch store right below the video?
Hold on, I don't get paid for that neither.
We've got a whole host of stuff coming off the back of House of the Dragon, including our Elf shirt, our Cruel Queen playing card one, our Deli one to see if he could find it as well, now Trip with him going, and our Euro Trip one as well. The more you buy as well, the more discounts you get, and it all helps videos like this get made. But John once again is left to find his own way, and we see him traveling out to Rushville. It's a long, drawn out trip with him going through security, which is a lot different to Hal, who can just take off and leave. Literally. Finally, he arrives to a massive crime scene at the local high school football field where Hal is waiting for him. He says he was testing John to see if he could find his way there on his own, which is a pretty shit lesson, even for Hal. Like, I'm pretty sure
I was testing you to see if you find your own way. Bullshit, motherfucker.
John knows how to book a plane ticket. We're then introduced to the town sheriff, Kerry Kane, who is definitely not a fan of Hal. Now, if you recognize her, then it might be because she was in No Country for Old Men. And I also found out on breaking down the movie that Kelly MacDonald is actually Scottish. Anyway, she basically tells him that he needs to leave, as the Lanterns are only authorized to deal with extraterrestrial crimes. And this is just a regular old Earth shooting. However, Hal is convinced that the victims on the field are alien. He notices that none of
Okay, so when his old consciousness gave him that little message, there is hail in Rushville. What was that? Rushville, Oklahoma? There's hail there, right? That's a code for something that only he would know. And he took off flying. Whichever it's a code for aliens. And when we find out later in the episode what kind of aliens, now y'all telling me it's foreshadowing. We're starting to walk towards the Justice League now. If you know, you know.
Of the people around seem to know who they are, and no one has taken the bodies. One quick detail I want to bring up here as well is that on the surface, this does seem like it might be the first time that Carrie and Hal have met. However, Carrie does say that she can't do this again. Now, she could just mean having to explain again to Hal how he needs to get the hell out of there and to stop freaking people out, but it also could hint that this isn't her first time dealing with the Lantern bullshit. And we'll be going back to 2006, I swear. Now, while Sheriff Carrie is not happy about it, she sort of gives Hal permission to investigate. I also couldn't really find a good counterpart for Carrie in the comics, but I am thinking that she may be based on a character named Rose Harding. She's a small town girl from Hope Springs, West Virginia, and she and Hal had a brief relationship when he tried to return to a normal life. However, it quickly came to an
Rushville, Nebraska. Excuse me, I'm a little cooked. Woo.
And when she found out he was a Green Lantern, and Rose was also introduced in the 1990 Green Lantern run. This seems to be like a big inspiration for the show, and it follows an older Hal Jordan 15 years after he first got his ring, and he's basically trying to get back to a somewhat normal life. He ends up going on a road trip across America while John Stewart takes the lead in space, and Guy Gardner is recruited as the Green Lantern of the Justice League. How about the author of this run?
Okay, so yeah, you can't have more than one Green Lantern, and they could all be doing different things. I like that, and they could be interchangeable. So maybe Guy Gardner is the Green Lantern for the Justice League, but maybe he might trade out with John Stewart and Hal Jordan every now and then. They trade off positions. Okay, I can see that. That's fire. All right.
Was arrested for some really awful stuff in 2018, which he did go to prison for. So DC pretty much deleted it from existence. I am skirting around the subject, but it is very bad if he's going to prison for it. You can look it up yourself. But yeah, I don't know if they're going to adapt that fully because of how bad the author is. But yeah, Rose looks identical to Carrie here, which is some great casting if that's the case. And I did wonder if that factored into the equation. Harlan gives John another little training exercise and has him give a rundown of what happened. John then surveys the scene and breaks down how everything went down. Hey, that's my job. Noticing the kicking block still on the field and the broken fence, John determines that the home team must have scored a game-winning field goal, which caused the fans to storm the field, and this resulted in 4 members of the visiting side being shot in the commotion. Now, I love how you can see both John and Hal's detective skills here, as Hal, up until now, seems like a pretty shit hero, but here he shows off why he's the Earth's only Green Lantern. And
I did like that scene between the two of them. Like I said, this is when he told Mufasa that he kept calling him Junior. He was giving him no respect. He said, "This is my job, and I'm about to show you how it's really done. You're so straight-laced," because he told him to survey the whole scene. And John broke it down. He was like, it might have been a little craziness. One of the fences might have broke, and it caused the home team and the away team to spill out into the field, and they got a little crazy, and 4 people ended up getting shot. So he was like, yeah, okay, you break down or whatever, that's cool, but what else do you see? He couldn't give it to him, so it's on some, now I'm about to show you why I am Earth's Green Lantern. So I did like how he stepped up, but he did also let him know, this is my job, nobody's ever done it, nobody's ever gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? While I'm living.
he's basically humoring Sheriff Kane and John because he knows he's right. John then notices one of the victims' sweaters on the field and figures out that one of them must still be there. Hal already knows this and has been watching the suspect the entire time, which is why he's just been there riding the bench. However, unlike Hal, John is a goody two-shoes and says they have to respect the chain of command. So he tells Sheriff Carrie, but it turns out she also knows this and has been watching him. And John coming onto the field has screwed up this whole thing. So the guy bolts. Whoops. And Hal was right again. But this leads to a chase in which John outsmarts him, and though he's...
Yeah, he kind of did outsmart him, but that was one of those Will Smith from the first Bad Boys. That's how long that run was. White boy was fast, man. But he caught him. He headed him off at the pass and caught him with a right to the face, dropped him and all of that, and they took him into questioning. Now, you would say to yourself, your man, Hal Jordan said, the people that we're watching right now, or that we're looking for, are aliens. That is why I'm here. Because John cracked the code with that as well. He said there's hell in Rushville, Nebraska. He said that even sounds like aliens. Come on, bro. He was like, tell me what's really going on here. He said the guy that is responsible for this is an alien. He said, I'm telling y'all straight up and down. And ain't no aliens here. That's, black folks, we never believe nothing. But they end up catching this guy and they bring him into custody after that.
Got a lot to learn. I also love how we see his military training coming into play here. Also, I think we need to add Aaron Pierre to the list of all-time great on-screen sprinters. You're not as good as Tom Cruise yet, but you might get there one day. The dude is flying. Look at that arm control. But with the alien suspect now in custody, Hal then takes John out for a drink to celebrate. We then see him using his ring to create a $20 bill, and he puts this into the jukebox. Now, this is a hilarious...
You couldn't give me no power like that. I ain't gonna lie. I can just materialize in my brain whatever bill I need and with the man, please. Y'all already know I ain't gonna do right.
And brilliant use of the Green Lantern ring that I never really considered. However, yes, I did find an old issue of Green Lantern where a low-level criminal named Bill Braggett briefly had Hal Jordan's power ring and gained the ability to channel its power. He used it to create fake money, and after getting out of prison in 1969's Green Lantern issue 67, he basically went on to live a life of wealth. The issue also shows the Green Lantern interrogating the fake money using the ring, which is absolutely hilarious. On the jukebox, he also plays the song A Brand New Key by Melanie from her 1971 album Gather Me. Throughout this episode, there's been loads of old songs whenever Hal's been on screen, and I just love this aesthetic. As Hal then orders some drinks, mainly for himself, John then asks him about how he got his ring. Hal then says he got it the old-fashioned way by being chosen, not by doing some lame interview with the Guardians. This is, of course, a reference to how John became a Green Lantern officially in the comics, and this happened after Hal Jordan quit the Corps, which happened in Green Lantern issue 185. However, John said,
He did hit him with the, I got chosen or whatever. I didn't do some lame ass interview with the Guardians or whatever. And John hit him with the maybe you should have, because you are the worst leader in captivity. They start to go back and forth, which he tells him a plan of how he's going to get next to this so-called alien that they need to question. He's like, I'm going to go ahead and start a bar fight with these guys, because the song that he plays on the little jukebox, he plays it on repeat. I'm guessing them folks around there, when you get on the jukebox, if you're going to play a song, you got to keep playing different ones. He had this one particular song on repeat, and they were not feeling it. So he was like, his plan is, this is what he tells John, my plan is I'm going to go over there, I'm going to get in a fight. He was like, it's going to look like they whooping my ass, but I'm pretty sure I'm okay. He said, they're going to call me the main aggressor, and they're going to take me in and hopefully put me next to this guy where I can interrogate him, which was a stupid-ass plan, and that's exactly what John told him.
Is that maybe he should have interviewed because he's kind of an ass. We then get a sort of extended version of the story Hal told on the news where he says he was woken up by...
I do like what you're saying here, Jag. I always had a problem with the ring coming off so easily. It would only come off when the user dies. It should only come off when the user dies or they willingly take it off. Nobody else should be able to take it. It's just stupid. You know what? There's two different instances of this that I've seen, right? Okay, we got Zack Snyder's Justice League when they have the little flashback of them fighting Darkseid and all his forces, right? He gets Darkseid 1v1s a Green Lantern. He kills the Green Lantern, and then the ring flies off his finger and kind of goes to whoever the next person with no fear is supposed to have it, right? But then you watch the Injustice cartoon, which was a fire movie. You watch the Injustice cartoon, and when Superman was wild and he was about to really, really turn up, Green Lantern caught up to him or whatever, and he was like, Clark, let's just talk about all of this. That man, Superman, was like, I'm about to go do something that everybody else should have did. And before you can even think about it, he rolls by Green Lantern in at the speed of light, snatches the ring off his finger. I agree with that. You shouldn't be able to do that. The ring should always stay on the bearer's finger, and it should only come off if the user bites the dust. I do agree with that.
a giant green bubble that asked if he was afraid. When he said no, the bubble flew him hundreds of miles in just 10 seconds. Then took him to Abin Sur, who, as Hal described, was super messed up. He was pink, bald, bleeding all over, and he gave Hal his ring. Using his experience as a fighter pilot, Hal then flew to none other than good old Nebraska, which just so happens to be 20 miles away from Rushville. Meanwhile, while Hal is telling the story, the jukebox once again starts playing Brand New Key, which pisses pretty much everyone off in the bar, but it's a banger. What the hell is going on? How about one guy is ready to throw down, but Hal just ignores him and continues on. Hal then goes on to say that once he put the ring on, he could understand everything the alien said. Now this was, "My name is Abin Sur, responsible for maintaining the peace and sovereignty of Sector 2814. This responsibility is now yours, as the ring has chosen you to be my successor." And then his last words were either good luck or oh fuck. Now, I feel like Hal...
His last words were good luck, man. Why would that man say oh fuck? Shut up. That shit was funny as hell, though, when your man Hal Jordan said it, man. I like... Kyle Chandler is really playing this role. I like it.
Isn't being entirely truthful here. Though this is pretty much how in 1959 Showcase issue 22, Abin Sur crash lands in California, and Hal is then taken from Ferris Air Base while working on new flightless trainer crafts. Whew, bit of a mouthful there. But Hal then says that Earth is basically a shithole planet that the Guardians never even took into consideration. They didn't even have it in their jurisdiction, and Hal being chosen was apparently just a fluke. However, this gave him the feeling that Abin Sur's crash was never an accident, so ever since he got the ring, he's been monitoring Rushville for any more alien activity. Now this is why he created the hologram, which is what John calls it. And hey, John's got jokes. Unfortunately, their little bonding sessions interrupted when Brand New Key once again starts playing in the bar, and the guy who yelled at him before says he's gonna kick his ass if the song plays again. But Hal just keeps on ignoring them. We then see that Hal is actually being an asshole on purpose this time, as John realizes he played the same song on the jukebox over and over as he wanted to get in a fight. This is so that he'll get arrested and locked up with the suspect from the football game so he can slowly start to question him, which John is 100% cool with if it means Hal gets his ass kicked. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him. He then gives John his ring and goes over for the fight, which is when John notices a woman at the bar giving him the good old eye shag. She then asks if he's...
Man, bro, when I found out this lady was a grandma, I said, boy, hell nah, ain't no way. She was flirting with that boy Mufasa the whole entire little scene after Hal Jordan gets into a fight. She's flirting with him, and she's giving him the whole, so you're gonna be a space cop and all of that. And he was like, I don't think it's that so simple, and I'm just a trainee in case something happens to Hal, just regular conversation. And then as she gets up, he tells her, I'm John. She's like, you want to walk me to my car? Bam! And they're smacking buns, cracking immediately. I said, wow. I said, not you old and freaky. I can learn a life and you gotta come teach me. Yeah, she freaky, man.
Gonna say yes to Hal. John says he doesn't think that Hal wants him to have it and that he's been testing him, and the lady asks how he's being tested. Which, whoa, lady, who the hell is you, and why are you asking so many questions? Now, I think the grandma's an alien. That's an early prediction for me, because she was too interested in that whole Green Lantern space cop whole situation. She was too interested. I believe grandma's an alien, and she's been on the earth since that early time when Abin Sur first came there. Okay, mate, I should be a space cop, yeah, because I was super suspicious about her. But it doesn't seem to set off any alarm bells for rookie John. He then shares a drink with her, shags her outside, which I don't think is protocol, and John also shows off a bit.
This was a bullshit way to use the ring, but it was. I hated it. That's what we get to see John Stewart do with the ring. Come on, man.
By using the ring to light up a cigarette, which I will say was pretty smooth. Now, am I the only one who thinks this lady's up to something, right? Especially with what we learn later. I mean, let's roll the tape back and hear some of the questions she asks John.
You gonna say yes? Testing you how?
She even calls him a space cop before John tells her he's in training.
Being a space cop. How many trainees does he have? Why'd he pick you?
It's like an interrogation. Also, notice the last thing that John tells her before they go back when she asks what happens after training. Yeah, he says Earth can only have one Green Lantern, so he's being trained in case something happens to Hal. And I think you might have screwed up there, John. That doesn't seem to be like something you should be telling random people you meet in bars. Now, let's just say this lady is some kind of ne'er-do-well, and knowing that Earth only has one space cop and his replacement's still in training, that would be a pretty great thing to hear if you're trying to take over the planet.
She's an alien. I'm telling y'all, man. I'm telling y'all. She might even be like the head alien that's trying to take over everything. I don't know. That's early predictions right quick.
So love how happy Hal looks here while he's getting arrested after getting beaten across the bar. Like, yes, my plan worked flawlessly. We then cut to the next day where John goes to pick up Hal from the station. The station's named the Sheridan County Sheriff's Office, which is because they are in Sheridan County, obviously. But it could also be a nod to DC writer Tim Sheridan, who wrote 2024's Alan Scott the Green Lantern. We also discover that Sheriff Carey has locked Hal in the broom closet because she knew he had a plan to get arrested. So she decides to make an example of him. She brings him in front of a judge for impeding on her investigation. And I love how Hal is like, hey, come on, I'm a Green Lantern. I'm the Joker.
Hold on. Jaguar Actual says, I don't recall the Lanterns taking an oath of celibacy. My boy is free to clap all the cheeks he wants. If she's an alien, then her child and grandson are aliens as well. Oh, I wasn't hating about the cheek clapping at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it wasn't going to happen to the boy Mufasa, who was it going to happen to in that first episode, right? And this is an adult show because I've always thought DC was way darker than Marvel in a lot of situations. So, yeah, to believe that superheroes in this universe don't cuss is just wild as hell to me. But, yeah, definitely. They don't take no oath of celibacy. I think your boy Hal Jordan used to be, big player, big daddy, big pimp.
Baby. Also, you can see the judge's name is Janet Sloan, which could be a super subtle nod to the original Mr. Terrific, aka Terry Sloan. However, despite Hal flashing his Green Lantern status, the judge is not having it until Jason Ritter with a mustache comes to Hal's defense. We learn he's Billy Macon, who is a lawyer that quickly gets Hal out on bail, and he's also the husband of Sheriff Carey. Ooh, and that is going to be a pretty awkward conversation later. We then see that mustache Jason Ritter is not just a good guy and a Green Lantern fan, but also a typical slime.
He called him mustache Jason Ritter.
Lawyer. He was sent by his father to bail Hal out and invite him out to his ranch for dinner, which Sheriff Carey is not very happy about. We then see John and Hal arrive there and see that it's not just your average farm, but a full-on compound. It's complete with an armed militia, training grounds, and once there, we meet Carey and Billy's son Noah, who I only mention because it's the same kid who played Frankie in Spider-Noir and also Alex in Weapons. And I love that show and film. Sheriff Carey also warns Hal that her father-in-law knows all about him and that he's not someone he wants to fuck with. So yeah, it's clear something mischievous is going on here, but I'm super curious to see how Sheriff Carey fits into all.
They're aliens, Jack. The aliens, bro. I'm sorry. Either that or they're storing weapons to fight against the aliens.
Of this. It seems pretty clear that she's not really down with whatever her husband and father-in-law are doing, but she clearly doesn't want Hal's help and is trying everything she can do to get rid of him. I did even get flashes of Lindelof's Watchmen TV show during this, and in that we had a militia group based around Rorschach that were I'll not spoil it, but it's something similar. But this does.
Was that Watchmen TV show good? Did anybody watch that? Was that Watchmen TV show good? I've never paid attention to it. And it had Regina King in it. I've never paid attention to it. What Jack says, I'm smelling KKK type militia. KKK type militia as far as human beings, KKK versus the aliens. I could see that. I'm going to check it out.
Doesn't deter Hal at all, and he then goes to meet Billy's daddy William. We learn he was a sniper in the Marines and is disappointed that they didn't look him up. He tells them that despite having a weapon of mass destruction, then walking into unknown territory is either trust or arrogance. And yeah, this guy is definitely a bad guy. We then learn that this isn't even his compound and that he's working on behalf of a mysterious employer, who of course he can't legally talk about or identify. Yup, classic bad guy mystery stuff there. Thinking he's just some doomsday nut job against the government, Hal then tries to shoot him down, but Macon reveals the reason he called them is that he knows all about the aliens. Taking Hal out of the grill, he then says that when Hal revealed himself to the world as a Green Lantern, he realized that Earth was just waiting for some alien species to come and take it.
I would agree. Like, it's one of those things like when Superman died in Batman versus Superman, it set off a whole effect of people knowing that Earth was no longer protected by a Kryptonian, and there weren't any Green Lanterns in that universe either. So Earth was up for grabs.
He compares it to how the land they're on right now once belonged to the natives, who were unaware that ships were coming from across the ocean to take it. Realizing that he's dealing with an ancient alien theorist, Hal tries to assure him that he's been all over the galaxy and it's a relatively peaceful place. But Macon says, if that's the case, why do they need space cops? Macon then assures Hal that he's not some crackpot with his head in the sand, but a student of history. Which I feel like exactly what every crackpot conspiracy theorist says. But basically, Macon is convinced that aliens are coming to colonize Earth. I do wonder if this is going to play off Superman as well, as there we learn that the House of L actually had plans for Clark to come and invade, and have a harem of women. He says the guy sitting in Sheriff Carey's cell is part of an advanced team, but he of course can't disclose how he knows this. Now, I did think the subtext was a bit heavy-handed here, especially when he's like, we don't want people on this planet who wasn't born here. We don't take kindly to your kind around here. But I am interested.
Hell nah. Oh, shit. He definitely did say it just like that, too.
To see how this is going to go over with the internet. The greatest place for nuanced discourse. Meanwhile, John teaches Sheriff Carey's son to throw a football because the kid throws like he's got two left arms. He tells him not to aim the ball, but just to imagine it going through. This parallels how a Green Lantern creates their constructs through their imagination and will. And I love how John starts to tell the kid that he learned this by his dad shooting apples off his head. Like it's a totally normal thing. But John is interrupted by the arrival of Noah.
It's not. It's abuse. It's not normal at all. It's abuse.
His grandmother, who is dun 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 the lady John shagged last night. We learn that she's called Zoe Macon and is the wife of the alien wacko cowboy. Ooh, and it's gonna get awkward. Or maybe it won't, which we'll talk about in a bit. But we then cut to after the party where Macon walks John and Hal to their car and tells Hal that he talked to the sheriff so he can question the alien suspect. He also makes it very obvious that he knows that John shagged his wife, which was a bit weird.
Nothing better than eating off another man's grill.
But
my man said nothing better than eating off another man's grill. Every hotel got a cuck. Jesus Christ, man.
He's also kind of cool with it. I don't know. But yeah, Macon is for sure a bad guy. I know that. Now, there have been some rumors flying about that William Macon could actually be William Hand from the comics, also known as the Black Hand. He's a classic Green Lantern villain who became obsessed with harnessing the power of the ring. He creates a device to drain the power from Hal's and later gains the ability to drain people's life force directly from them. This happened after he was experimented on by aliens, and this could be what they're doing in the show. Again,
do y'all see him as the Hand? I don't know. That alien experimentation, that could be going on, because like I said, I think the grandmother, I think she's an alien. She might be the head alien.
DC has rebooted its comic universe a couple of times at this point, but in Black Hand's original origin, he grew up in a very wealthy family, but ended up hating them and used his resources to turn to a life of crime, which I feel fits with at least the little bit we know about William Macon so far. Despite him just looking after the property as well, it's clear that Macon is very well connected and clearly obsessed with aliens. However, we see Macon is also interested in the Green Lanterns, as Billy mentioned that he was a huge fan of Hal. Carey even said he had papers on him, and I think it's interesting how he calls the ring a weapon of mass destruction when he first meets Hal. Now, this kind of...
that is giving me KKK vibes. That's giving me, there's a certain type of people who should have that kind of power, and there's a certain type of people who shouldn't. And much like how Batman has a dossier on how to defeat every character in the Justice League, I could see these type of men having a dossier on potential threats to the planet, potential threats to the race.
Hinted to me that he's not impressed by the ring's power, but more so afraid of it. If Macon is indeed playing a version of the Black Hand from the comics, I think he's going to be after those rings and could see them as a threat to humanity, despite the Lantern's job being to protect Earth. This could be why it's missing at the end, and Macon may have been the one who's taken it. Plus, we've already seen his wife cozying up to John, and it goes back to those very specific questions that she asked about at the bar. I feel like Zoe may be playing an even bigger game in all of this, but if she told Macon anything about what John had told her that night, then he knows that if he takes out Hal, Earth will be left with its untrained backup, which is not good. We then see Hal and John arrive at the police station and question the suspect, who we learn from Sheriff Kerry is supposedly just a random truck driver named Waylon Sanders. Kerry believes this and has checked him out and knows from his x-ray that he has human organs. However, John and Hal aren't so convinced, and they say there's currently 14 species with the technology to pass as humans.
I like how Hal was not letting up. He said, that dude is an alien. Give me 5 minutes, maybe even 4, and I can totally convince you that this guy's an alien.
And it may be some Kryptonian invasion shit, but it doesn't seem that strong. But everything from x-rays to MRIs and blood work, that's all been done, and it's planted the idea in our heads that aliens could be anyone. And I'm looking at you, Mustache Jason Ritter. Despite having no way to prove that he's alien, Hal's convinced he can get him to confess, and he leaves John to give him his next lesson. Also, love how when Hal is going to the interrogation room, he tells John to stay back, and you can see John's reflection on the two-way mirror, which makes it look like he's sitting across from the suspect. This symbolizes how John will one day take Hal's place and be the one on the other side of the glass. We also see John is somewhat of an artist, and he makes a sketch of the suspect, which is actually pretty good. Now, we haven't really learned much about John yet, but in the comics, he is an architect and not an artist. So this feels more like it could be a nod to another Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner. In the comics, he was actually a freelance artist before acquiring his ring, and most of his constructs are based around his artistic imagination. As Hal enters the interrogation room, he then just starts shooting the shit with the guy and asks him where he's from and why he came out to the football game. He says it's because he's just a big fan of football, and Hal starts quizzing him on the Nebraska football facts. I'm a larper, I'll admit it. He then gets them all right. However, things change when Hal asks him what the name of Harry Potter's school was, and the guy's completely stumped. Also, I love how he goes, Harry Potter, the boy wizard. It reveals that while aliens are really good at studying up for their specific roles, they neglect to learn common things that most humans would know.
Snape kills Dumbledore!
What? I do like how when Hal Jordan did have him in the interrogation room, like he said, he went off subject. You know, you're a big fan of football. You started asking him who was the wide receiver, what year did they win the championship. Then he asked him something as simple as, what was it? Where does Harry Potter go to school? I think he asked him something like, who's Beyonce or something like that. And he might have asked him, do you know who President Barack Obama is? Or who's our president?
Now, that was pretty clever, but Kerry is still unimpressed. She asks John how he can work with someone that he doesn't respect and says that Hal isn't fearless but lonely. Also, I know it's my job to literally overanalyze these things, but it seems to me that Kerry is kind of trying to get John to shit-talk Hal here. Notice how Kerry's reflection hovers right over the alien suspect as well, but we can't see John's reflection on the other side. It's almost like she's being interrogated by Hal. Now, I might be reaching here, but this possibly could be hinting at Harry being one of these undercover aliens herself. This would explain why she's been trying so hard to get rid of Hal and keep him away from the Macons. But that Noah kid, he was a little too polite, wasn't he, now I think about it? And he's also a star football player when he grows up. He's using his alien powers for profit. Now, if Kerry does turn out to be an alien, I don't think she's involved with whatever Macon's planning and is possibly just trying to hide herself and play sheriff on Earth, which could even build off her line of,
I can't do this again.
when she first met Hal. Back to Hal's interrogation, the suspect tries to scramble as Hal continues to ask him pop culture facts. He drops the act, though, after giving Hal a Wikipedia description of Barack Obama. He then says that if he was an alien who took the time to hide himself and learn about stupid human shit like football, it would be for a very important reason. This is a reason that would need to be kept secret from an intergalactic peace organization because it doesn't involve peace, but instead involves war. I was sitting there like, I'd be getting up and out this room at this point. He then says that if he was taken by such an organization, he would have to take drastic measures to ensure his mission wasn't revealed.
So that was the alien talking to Hal Jordan. At this point, he all but says, yeah, I'm an alien. You know what I'm saying? Hypothetically speaking, what you gonna do about it, though?
Pop culture facts. He drops the act, though, after giving Hal a Wikipedia description of Barack Obama. He then says that if he was an alien who took the time to hide himself and learn about stupid human shit like football, it would be for a very important reason. This is a reason that would need to be kept secret from an intergalactic peace organization because it doesn't involve peace, but instead involves war. I was sitting there like, I'd be getting up and out this room at this point. He then says that if he was taken by such an organization, he would have to take drastic measures to ensure his mission wasn't revealed. The alien suspect then reveals, hypothetically of course, that he has a biometric neutron device woven into his skeleton that he can activate with just a thought. Hal then says that he can just contain it with his ring, but the suspect asks how much power he has left in it. He also knows that he's been in town for the last 48 hours and that the lanterns have to recharge their ring.
So he basically just told right then and there that he was the alien. Now, all of this is happening in front of the sheriff, who, if you're listening to his theory, he thinks that the sheriff might actually be an alien. John knows there's aliens. So now it's like, oh shit, where's this going? Because everything that he just said basically says there's a secret sector of aliens on some scroll shit that have dropped to Earth, and they're not there to make peace. They're there to wage war and to colonize. This got crazy fast. Watch.
So the alien knows ball. Now in the comics, and I'm guessing the show too, a Green Lantern ring basically has to be recharged every 24 hours. So this alien, knowing that, shows whoever this guy is or who his people are, they've tangoed with the lanterns before and have probably already been watching Hal. Tired of the games, Hal's ready to get the party started, and he asks if they're talking or exploding, and the alien then provokes him by starting to recite the Green Lantern's oath, which does get to Hal, and he throws the guy up against the wall saying,
Harry Potter went to Hogwarts, you ignorant alien fuck.
Which is basically going to be probably the summary of my Harry Potter breakdowns. If we do it, I don't know if we're going to do it. It seems like a fucking nightmare. However, the alien suspect then just gives a chuckle and
I'm still going to watch the Harry Potter series that's coming out in December on HBO Max. I'm still going to give a look to it because I loved all the movies. The ride at, I forgot which amusement park it is. I want to say it's Universal Studios, the ride over there. I loved all of that stuff, man.
And says he's here for vengeance before his arse starts bleeping. Hal then throws him across the room and contains him in a bubble before getting a well-deserved told you so. We then jump ahead 10 years to 2026, where we meet an older John driving into Rushville to meet Sheriff Kerry. John's also rocking a sick goatee, which references his John Stewart look in the animated Justice League series. We can also see that something bad must have happened there over the last 10 years, as John drives past what I think is the Macon Ranch, but
that's exactly what it is. That's the Macon Ranch, because if you notice, those little bricks were in front of the entrance. So that is the Macon Ranch in the future. I don't know what happened here, but it got crazy.
It's now being completely destroyed. Could be wrong on this, so I need you guys to confirm it. And I did also wonder if it might have been the police station, but I did double check that. The explosion wasn't that bad. It's still standing, so it wasn't that. John and Kerry also seem to be glad to see each other, with John asking about Noah, who Kerry says is now the team's quarterback. Sorry, he wasn't playing in the big leagues, but yeah, I was rambling there. That was the first thing that came to mind. But I guess John's lessons really stuck with him, and interestingly, there's no mention of Billy or William. So Kerry will, of course, come around to their side by the end of all this, but I'm still not convinced she's not an alien. We then see the reason for this little reunion as they make their way onto the field, and we see Hal sitting in the stands. How about this time Hal isn't just taking in the sights, but he is in fact dead.
That got me right there. First episode at the end, plot twist of plot twist. They knock off Hal Jordan. Now, this could be, and the spoiler alert, I think the aliens that they're hunting in 2016, which is where most of the episode takes place, I do think they're hunting Martian manhunters. I think that is what's on Earth, and not everyone is good like John Jones. There are some bad Martian manhunters. So I think they're coming to Earth to colonize, and a lot of what was said and done in that first episode in 2016 led to Hal being knocked off. If y'all notice, he's sitting in the exact same place he was sitting in the stands in 2016 when they were first investigating Rushville, Nebraska. Somebody knocked him off, and also his lantern ring is missing.
His body's frozen solid, and the ring is also gone. We then pan away and hear the song Knievel by Scud Mountain Boys, which takes us to the credits. And what a way to finish the first episode. Also, notice how they kind of toy with us here, as we can't see if John has the ring now. They cover his right hand with Hal's when he's checking his body, and we also have to remember that this would be a year after the events of Superman, where Guy Gardner is the current Green Lantern of Earth. This episode made it pretty clear a few times that Earth can only have one Green Lantern, but maybe they expanded the roster. If not though, we do get a bit of a double mystery here with who killed Hal and what John's current status in the Corps is. Now, Hal has died in the comics a few times before, but it was way more dramatic. Most famously, after he was possessed by the fear entity known as Parallax in the 90s, he ultimately sacrificed himself by using all his powers to reignite the sun, which is a bit more bombastic than this. So this seems like a new storyline for the show, but I'm sure we'll get some more clues as the season goes on that will help us figure this one out. But right now, I am pretty stumped, so hit me.
All right, man. All right. Y'all tell me, everybody that saw it, did you enjoy the first episode of Green Lantern? Lanterns. Did you enjoy the first episode? There's a lot of people who didn't like it. I did, though. I'm interested to see what's happening next. Who knocked off Hal Jordan? Where the ring is? Are there aliens afoot? I'm ready to see all of that. You know? Y'all tell me in the comments on the watch back, man, how y'all feeling about this. But I like the show so far. I am going to be reviewing all of these episodes as they go out. 1 year ago, I lost my leg. Now I ride a motorcycle. I joined a gym today. And okay, so salute to you, Safal. All right, salute to you. Jaguar Actual says, I hope they don't go down the Sinestro route. Sinestro is in this show. They've done it at least 3 times in animation and at least once in live action. It's played out. I hope they do the Red Lantern Crisis. That would lead to Atrocitus. Atrocitus in live action would be amazing. Keeping my fingers crossed. Is Atrocitus a Justice League level villain, or you think a Green Lantern could handle him 1v1 with no problem? But yeah, I will be reviewing these episodes as they drop, man. In a couple of days here, Beauty in Black season 3 will be out on Netflix. I will also be talking about that. Yeah, y'all know exactly what it is, man. This was a great sesh. I am fried, died, laid to the side again from Flying Horse. Pink panties, man. Y'all enjoy that if you come across some. This was another good session, man. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's your boy Slate DBIC. It's the Offenders Initiative podcast, and we out.